Good afternoon. I'd like to call our meeting to order with a quick roll call. Regent Acker?
Present.
Regent Bean?
Here.
Regent Bernstein? Regent Brown?
Here.
Regent Hubbard?
Here.
Regent Illich?
Here.
Regent Weiser? Regent White?
Here.
Thank you. In the light of the Supreme Court's recent ruling on affirmative action, I'd like to begin by reiterating our strong commitment as a university to fostering a diverse educational environment for our students and scholars, which is essential to our core mission of academic excellence. At University of Michigan, all of you know, we're convinced that racial diversity is one of the most important components of a broadly diverse student body and an intellectually and culturally rich campus community. In that regard, you might have noticed that last month, we agreed as an institution to invest $80 million with the National Institutes of Health to enhance equity and inclusion across the health sciences. Specifically, that funding will go towards the launch of a Michigan program for advancing cultural transformation and to the recruitment of 30 new tenure-track faculty members to the Ann Arbor campus, with a demonstrated commitment to equity and inclusion. Last week, we outlined our next steps in the Inclusive History Project, work which will commence this fall and continue for the next 5 years. Through this multifaceted project, we hope to document and better understand our university's history with respect to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Moving forward, I'd like to offer my most sincere thanks to Paul Brown, our outgoing chair. Paul has been deeply involved in so many aspects of our work since I arrived. Our vision and strategic direction at presidential introduction events, all the way to Singapore, I think. And of course, his many kindnesses to me personally and to my family as the new president of this university. He's been a leader, a mentor, a friend, and a guide. And Paul, I hope you don't mind if I remember that moment when I was actually going around campus taking photos, and I heard your voice, "Hey, no photographs permitted here." I turned around and saw your smiling face and that of your entire family, so I'll never forget that. So Paul, on behalf of all of us, thank you for your service to the university, to our community, and to the public good. I'd also like to congratulate our new chair, Sarah Hubbard. Sarah, I'm so grateful for the opportunities we've already had to work together, and I look forward to our further service together as an organization in your upcoming term. Regent White, I'm also eager to continue to work with you as our new vice chair. As we anticipate the new academic year, I'd like to acknowledge Governor Whitmer and the members of the Michigan legislature for passing a budget that provides a significant increase, 5%, in support for universities across the state, including our Ann Arbor, Flint, and Dearborn campuses. We also appreciate the opportunity to work with the governor's newly established Department of Lifelong Education, Achievement, and Potential, opening the way to a future of education, opportunity, and prosperity. Yesterday, our Office of Research put out a video on the economic impact by the University of Michigan. It highlights our leadership in this area, that over the past 5 years alone, our research has led to 2,540 new inventions, 117 new startup companies, many of which are still based here in Southeast Michigan. We're also making progress on 2 other key priorities. I'm delighted to announce that Shauna Weber is being recommended today as our first Associate Vice President for Campus Sustainability, something that we've been talking to this university community about for about a year and a half. Thank you for your patience. And I think when you learn more about her, you'll agree that she's going to be a transformational hire for this institution. She currently serves as the Director of Sustainability at Princeton University. And at the University of Michigan, she will lead sustainability efforts on all 3 of our campuses, collaborating with an array of units across the university in pursuit of carbon neutrality and climate action, or the PCCN. I'm also pleased to note our progress on Vision 2034 of strengthening what makes the University of Michigan such a strong academic institution. We hope to deepen our impact and to address the most pressing challenges of today, such as climate change. To date, we have held some 55 community events, gathered thousands of ideas, both in person and virtually, engaged thousands of members of our student, faculty, alumni, and staff, literally around the world. Thanks to everyone for your engagement. And I'd like to thank the executive vice presidents for their leadership in that strategic visioning process. There's much more work to be done in the months ahead, but I'm grateful to our team for the progress that we've made to date and anticipate an update to all of you this fall and in the new year. Coming to the conclusion of my brief remarks, I'd like to thank 2 people. I would like to thank Hank Baer, our Associate Vice President for Facilities and Operations, who will be retiring in August after 31 years of service to the University of Michigan. Without Hank's leadership, we would not be sitting here in the renovated Ruthven Building today, nor would many of our other major infrastructure projects be standing, such as, just to name a few, because your impact has been great, the Ford School or the Munger graduate residences, not to mention the residence halls that are under active planning even earlier today. All of the beautiful new buildings and renovations that have literally transformed our campus over the past 20 years have happened on your watch. We are very grateful to you, Hank. Let's hear it for Hank once again. I'd also like to give a shout out to a colleague and really an invaluable member of the executive officer team, the Chancellor of the University of Michigan Flint campus, Deba Dutta. Deba, thank you so much for your tremendous leadership. We wish you all the best in your new role at the University of Illinois. Ladies and gentlemen, please give Deba a round of applause. Finally, I would be remiss if I failed to congratulate none other than Michael Woods, a 36-year-old Michigan Wolverine who pulled off a major upset to win stage 9 of the Tour de France last week. With that, we'll go into the rest of our business for the afternoon. And after that, I would like to wish all of you a restful and relaxing, hopefully, August break. And we'll look forward to reconvening in September. Thanks a lot. Of course, Regent Illich.
Is it on now? You hit the button. Okay. New program. Hi, Hank, I just wanted to say thank you for all of your years of service. I've had the privilege to work with you for 15 years. I can't believe it. You've just been phenomenal. Every project that you've done, I admire you. You always are so professional, and you've really, really done a nice job here. I still think you're a little too young to retire, or at least you look too young to retire, but enjoy it, and thank you so much for your effort. It's really appreciated.
Regent Bernstein.
And, go ahead.
Sorry.
Well, and then I just wanted to make comments to you, Deba, to wish you the best and thank you very much for all of the work that you've done, how you've advocated for Flint. It's been challenging. It's not easy. So thank you for that.
University.
I just want to echo what my colleague Regent Illich said. First of all, of course, Deba, it's been a real thrill and an honor to work together with you. Flint is in a better place and will be in a better place because of your service there. So thank you. And then Hank, we're going to miss working together. I won't recognize you, if you're not carrying around these enormous white boards with architectural plans on them and renderings. But truly, you walk around this campus. There's not a building, certainly on Central Campus, that hasn't been built by you, impacted by you, redesigned by you, thoughtfully, expertly, frequently under budget. And this institution is, in many respects, one of the unique features of it is this really remarkable campus that we have and the buildings on it. And you're really central. You've been really central to that. So, job well done, and thank you.
And Hank, this is Kathy White. Just wanted to echo what my colleagues have said. You and I have been around at the university a long time, and a lot of great things have happened on your watch here. And you've been tremendous. We're so fortunate to have you, and wish you all the best. Over.
And Hank, as you know, I started working with you long before I became a regent. And he does a lot more than build buildings. When you look at that Burton Tower and all that beautiful light and the coordination that we get, that has different colors depending upon what the season is or who we're playing in football. That all happened because you put it all together. And I remember working with you on that a long time ago. And you understood things that are very complex and made them happen.
And, one more. Hank, we really appreciate the beauty you've brought to the campus and your commitment here. And the way you personally have helped me understand our buildings and their functions, and the time you spent with me, driving me around campus, introducing me to all those things has been very appreciated. And so we really are going to miss you, but we expect to still see you around from time to time.
I've enjoyed tremendous support. We've got a great team in facilities and operations, but the executive officers, the regents, and including some who are not here today, have supported us through about 3 decades. So with that, forever, go blue.
Yeah. Hank, I'll never forget walking around campus with you and how you were bursting with pride about the campus. And one of these days we'll have to catch up and maybe over a beer talk about how the campus has changed over 30 years. Just looking at what's happening right now, there's cranes everywhere and a few rerouted roads, I think, in streets around here. I'm sure the change is probably remarkable. So anyway, thank you for everything that you do, for your integrity, for approaching everything with class, and also for your warmth to those around you. You'll be sorely missed, but you'll always be welcome home here at the University of Michigan. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about has to do with a major priority that we spoke about at the first leadership address at the breakfast, and that was our commitment to strengthening the research of this great research university. And we have a great team of individuals from the Office of the Vice President of Research and Innovation, really world-class team, but also many people around this table, certainly the provost and the deans of the institution, and EVP Runge, all of whom are coming together to really think about how we can strengthen an already great research university. And I'm going to turn it over to VP Cunningham, who's going to introduce someone who's going to talk about how the research here drives economic impact. Over to you. Vice President Cunningham.
Thank you, President Ono. Good afternoon, everyone. Our people are the cornerstone of our success as a public research university, and because of their active engagement, the University of Michigan plays an essential role in accelerating our economic growth, enhancing our workforce development and communities across the state, spanning both peninsulas. Here to tell you more about the university's economic impact is Dr. Jason Owen Smith, a professor of sociology and public policy, research professor in the Institute of Social Research, executive director of the Research Analysis and Data Integration Office, and executive director for the Institute of Research on Innovation and Science. Thank you so much, Dr. Owen Smith.
Thank you, Dr. Cunningham. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today. The University of Michigan is a research powerhouse. You've heard many times about our research rankings, the scholarly, creative, and scientific successes of our faculty and students, the national and international honors they receive, and the ways that our work pushes the frontiers of human knowledge forward. Today, I'm going to talk to you about how all of that helps to create and sustain an economic engine in Michigan that reaches across the state to support Main Street businesses you might use and innovative startups that help keep us at the forefront of today's most important technologies. In 2022, conducted more than $1.7 billion of funded research. Most of that funding comes from the federal government, from businesses, and from nonprofit foundations. That money allows faculty members like me to hire the people and buy the stuff necessary to get cutting-edge research work done. It wouldn't come to our state every year if the university wasn't here. Research work and the things it produces, discoveries, technologies, know-how, and educated people with the skills necessary to apply them in new ways, make a hub for economic development in our state in at least 4 ways. By attracting companies and capital to Michigan, by creating and keeping good jobs here, by positioning us at the forefront of new technologies, and by supporting businesses across the state. By doing all these things, research helps to create and sustain an economic development ecosystem that improves the lives of the people who live here and strengthens the university's ability to continue to make just these kinds of contributions. The relationship between research and economic development can and should be a virtuous cycle that we can work to strengthen even further. Whether they're established multinational corporations or brand new startups that grow from our research, innovative companies and the talented people they need to thrive want to be located where the action is. Research and the people who are responsible for it draw employers to our state. Recently, KLA-Tencor, an international semiconductor fabrication company, chose to locate a 400-person research facility nearby the university to take advantage of the talent and knowledge that are UM's hallmark. KLA makes the machines that make the chips that make your electronics go. Their presence in our state makes us even more attractive to other semiconductor businesses. Other companies grew directly from research. Genomenon, a startup company incubated and launched at whose CEO has 2 PhDs from the university, applies artificial intelligence to genetic information to enable diagnosis and treatment of horrible diseases and to aid in the development of life-saving medicines. It was founded in 2018 and it now employs more than 200 people in the state of Michigan. KLA and Genomenon are just 2 examples of companies that locate and grow in Michigan. Data from the Institute for Research on Innovation and Science, which I direct, shows us that more than 12,000 students, staff, and trainees who were paid salaries from research grants at UM are now employed at businesses across the state. These people, whose work on research grants at UM helped train them and forge them into a diverse and highly technically skilled workforce for the state, represent a unique contribution UM makes to economic development. KLA's decision to locate here to benefit from the immense pool of talent our research helps to nurture is far from unique. Genomenon, too, is just one example of a type of story that happens across many industries. UM startup companies have drawn more than $900 million of capital to Michigan from outside the state. Those businesses have parlayed these investments into thousands of jobs in fields ranging from genomics to autonomous vehicles. Again, that's economic growth that wouldn't have happened without the research work done at UM. And success breeds success in this arena. UM attracts the best and brightest from around the state and the world to pursue undergraduate and graduate education, as well as postdoctoral training in one of the globe's best research environments. As employers and the opportunities they bring with them concentrate in our state as well to take advantage of that talent, more and more of those people will stay after they graduate. The economic development that research cultivates helps create an environment where both the people who grew up here and those like me who moved here from somewhere else have every reason to pursue their dreams in Michigan, whether or not they attend UM. All this dynamism makes our state even more vibrant. Ongoing, resilient economic growth happens because the university helps the innovative ecosystem it anchors stay at the frontier in many different fields of technology. UM's research is distinguished by its breadth of excellence across essentially every field of human knowledge. That breadth translates into opportunities to attract and grow relationships with many different types of partners, ranging from multinational corporations to government agencies, national labs, and nonprofits. Diverse partners, in turn, create a wide array of opportunities for the citizens of our state and help ensure our resilience in the face of a fast-moving future. In the last 5 years, as President Ono noted, thousands of new inventions and more than 100 new companies have been created from UM research, and they represent only a fraction of what is learned, taught, discovered, and made in laboratories, research spaces, archives, museums, and studios on our campuses every day. The diversity of research done on campus also helps to ensure that the economic benefits UM generates for the state aren't limited solely to the most cutting-edge technologies and the newest companies. Earlier, I said that the money UM researchers bring to the state to support their work allows them to hire people and buy the stuff necessary to get work done. That stuff ranges from pipettes and glassware to computers, specialty equipment, and critical to my kind of work, pens and notebooks, necessary to get work done. These purchases add to the bottom line of companies across our state and represent another way the university's research activities contribute to economic development. In the last 5 years, more than $600 million of research funds have been used to purchase necessary goods and services from businesses in our state. Some of those businesses, like a laboratory supply company in Grass Lake that began as a collaboration between a UM faculty member and an engineer, provide specialty life science equipment to researchers on campus and in universities and corporate labs across the country. Others, like a contractor in Muskegon County that specializes in building docks, more directly contribute to research goals. In this case, UM provided a $1 million contract to that company to build fish habitats in the St. Clair River as part of a long-term research project to protect the spawning environment of lake sturgeon. Whether we're talking about those particular businesses or about a dive shop on the shores of Lake Erie that helps support underwater archaeological research, or a specialty welding shop in Detroit that builds bespoke equipment for physical science experiments, businesses across Michigan supply research, develop products, create and sustain jobs, and grow as a result of their relationships with the university and the research we do. This type of economic development, where vibrant, intellectually diverse, world-class research catalyzes growth in our state's economy by helping to support an ecosystem of large and small businesses from many industries, involves people from across our state. Our economy is bolstered by the research done at UM's research is improved by the innovative environment and research suppliers on which we depend. Research-based economic development is a win for our state and for our institution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Owen Smith, for that wonderful presentation. We now are fortunate to have comments from our outgoing chair, Regent Brown.
Yes, thank you, President Ono. I just want to thank everyone for the time and support during my chairmanship, especially Jordan Acker. I learned from the best as your vice chair. And Sarah, I am completely comfortable leaving this position knowing it's in good and better hands. And then, of course, the rest of the board and the administration for all of the help you gave me during this process. A couple other things I'd like to say. It was, of course, just a huge honor. It's mostly an honor to be on this board, but of course, to be the chair for that year as well. And it's an honor because of how much I love the university. Of course, because of the great buildings, thank you, Hank, and the wonderful and fun traditions of the university, but more importantly, because of the people, Deba, et cetera. But most importantly, because of the mission, which is to do the public good, which it's a hard job. It's hard not just because of the voluminous reading we have to do much of the time, because of the hate speech or threats I get in email. Those are hard, but the hardest part is when you have to decide between two bad options. But even harder when you have to decide between two good options and you can only pick one, because it's a truly, as I've mentioned many, many times to many of you, it's a truly robbing Peter to pay Paul budget and decisions that we have to make here every day, and those are really hard. But I think we, day in and day out, as was just mentioned by the presentation, this institution does so much for the public good. And to steal a phrase from Ben Franklin, this is a wonderful institution if we can keep it. And that's not a foregone conclusion. When I took over the chairmanship and leading up to it, I spoke to many of my colleagues that I wanted my first action as board chair to put forth a motion to dissolve the chairmanship. I think there were some of you that thought that was a great idea, and that since I was becoming chair, but I was talked out of it, and I was concerned about the chairmanship. And I say this, I guess, kind of like how Eisenhower, when he was departing office, mentioned the dangers of the military-industrial complex. I want it to be on the record my concern about the chairmanship, and I've said this privately to many of you, but I want it to be on the record publicly. I believe the chairmanship has a risk of being a corrosive and even perverting influence. We look at other universities around even this state that have what I would define as a political board, a political chairmanship that I believe corrupts sometimes their decision making. We have an incredibly skilled and diverse board who esprit de corps is as good as any institution I've been a part of. And right now we have a system of not voted upon, a one-year rotation chairmanship, which so far has completely avoided those pitfalls of what I would describe as a political chair. But it only takes a majority of a board to change that system into a voted upon continual, potentially, chairmanship. And as I leave this position, I just want to express my belief of the system we currently have is a good one, and that for future boards to counsel them against ever changing it to one of those other systems. So again, it was a great honor and a great pleasure to serve with all of you as the chairmanship, and I look forward to being under Sarah's leadership. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Regent Brown. Now over to the incoming chair, Regent Hubbard.
Well, thank you, President Ono. First, I'd like to acknowledge and thank Regent Brown as well for his leadership as chair. His vision to hold a board meeting in Northern Michigan last year was really fabulous, and we're still discussing it and remembering how great it was. And I know we're not doing it this year. Darn that new chair. But I hope that we can do it again. Maybe it's something we'll do periodically in the future. And thanks again to Professor Owen Smith for his economic analysis. As chair this year, I plan to really keep an eye on these kinds of things. The economic development impact the university has going forward, I think, is so important. So next, I'm pleased to update some of you on Regental activities my colleagues and I have been on since we last met. Yesterday, members of the board visited M-Air on North Campus, the outdoor fly lab for testing autonomous aerial vehicles, and learned about the many ways that these aerial vehicles are impacting the future of everything from delivering packages, scouting disaster sites, inspection of infrastructure like bridges and wind turbines, and performing other jobs dangerous for humans. We also visited the robotics building and had a short tour of some of the labs that focus on rehabilitation-related robotics. We saw demonstrations of various promising technologies that can improve human mobility to levels that will be transformative. And in fact, one of my colleagues tried on one of the devices and shared his experience with us all.
It was great.
Regent Acker. In June, 3 of my colleagues attended the Investment Advisory Committee to learn more about the complexities of our endowment investments. And finally, next week, several members of the board will join an alumni reception in Northern Michigan as part of our Summer Up North events. A full board meeting, but we will still be visiting our friends in Northern Michigan next week on behalf of and as part of a Office of University Development event. And that completes my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Regent Illich would like to make some comments on fall semester.
Thank you, President Ono. I'm really looking forward to fall semester every year. It's always so exciting and so much excitement on campus. And our students kind of hit the ground running with new dorms, studies, and joining organizations. And I, like Regent Brown, want to make some thoughts and comments that are for the record as well. The university has many wonderful organizations around campus that encourage membership and provide a rich experience to our students. And I encourage our students to take advantage of the many opportunities available to them. With that said, I want to talk about hazing, share some information that one may not be aware of, and remind our community of our values and policies on hazing. Most recently, there have been some recent changes by the university to processes around rush in fraternity and sorority life. And as an aside, I have many fond memories and lifelong friendships being a member of an awesome sorority here at Michigan. So a shout out to my sisters at Kappa Kappa Gamma. Also, I have been reading about hazing incidences occurring on college campuses across the country, most recently involving athletics. Hazing is in violation of the University of Michigan values and policies, and hazing is against Michigan law. What constitutes hazing? Hazing is defined by Michigan law, section 750.411, means an intentional, knowing, and willful act by a person, acting alone or acting with others that is directed against an individual, and that is done for the purpose of pledging, being initiated into, affiliating with, or holding office in, participating in, or maintaining membership in any organization. So hazing includes, and this is not all inclusive for the sake of time, but number one, physical brutality, such as beating, striking, placing a harmful substance on the body. Number two, physical activity, such as sleep deprivation, exposure to the elements, confinement to a small space, or calisthenics that adversely affects or harms the physical health or safety of the individual. Now, number three, activity involving consumption of a food, liquid, alcoholic beverage, drug, or other substance that adversely affects or harms the physical health or safety of the individual. Hazing is a crime in Michigan, and the punishment for violation is significant. While I will not read it in detail, I will share that it is a misdemeanor under some circumstances and a felony under other circumstances, but for both, punishable by imprisonment. I also learned, which I thought I really didn't realize this, was that it is not a defense that the individual against whom the hazing was directed consented or acquiesced in the hazing. And there are consequences of intended actions. A life lesson that I've learned was the concept of unintended consequences. I've learned that an action may start out one way or with one intention, but end up very different or with a much more significant consequence that was not foreseen or planned. So I wanted to share with our Michigan community and remind everyone of the values of our great university and just share some very specific information on the prohibition of hazing. So thank you so much for allowing me this time and for listening to this message. Thank you.
Thank you, Regent Illich. Regent Bernstein.
Yeah, I want to echo what my colleague Denise just said about hazing and the zero tolerance position that this institution has for it. If you intend to engage in it, you just might as well buy a one-way ticket off this campus and never come back. And that not just only applies to activities that perhaps the communities that in maybe in office of fraternity and sorority life, but also athletics. If you're a coach, you better know, or you should know, if hazing is going on your team, because if you don't, you also should buy a one-way ticket off this campus and never return. Zero tolerance here for that, and I just think it's great that you raised that, and I fully support it.
Thank you, Regent Bernstein. I understand that there are 3 speakers for public comment on agenda items. VP Churchill?
Yes, thank you. We are now moving to part of our public speaker section of the meeting. There'll be another part at the end. As part of the regular meeting of the Regents each month, the Regents set aside time for individuals to present comments to the board. The board does not necessarily respond to comments during these public comment sessions. All public board meetings are formal events convened under Article 8, Section 4 of the Michigan Constitution. In keeping with reasonable and appropriate norms of decorum, all attendees, including speakers, should treat others with respect and civility. Individuals who are approved to speak will be expected to speak to the topic that was submitted during their registration submission, truthfully disclose any relevant organizational ties during the registration submission, and promptly cease speaking after the allotted 2 minutes allowed per speaker. Speakers who do not adhere to these rules may be precluded from addressing the board during the public comment portion of future board meetings for a specified period of time. This is in addition to the other guidelines announced on the public comment policy. So with that framing, I'd like to turn to our first speaker, Kirsten Harold.
Hello, President Ono. Hello, Regents, everybody else. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you. I'm Kirsten Harold. As Sally said, I'm the president of LEO, which is the Union for Instructional, Non-Tenure Track Faculty, as well as librarians, archivists, and curators. I'm here today to thank the Faculty Senate for bringing a proposal or a motion or whatever it is forward to you to vote on, which would include lecturers, archivists, and curators, as well as clinical faculty in the Faculty Senate and be part of faculty governance. This is a huge milestone for us because we have been told for a very long time that because we just teach, we don't belong in the Faculty Senate. I think this phrase that lecturers just teach should be warrant some scrutiny. It's not true. Lecturers do research, they run programs, serve on committees, advising, et cetera, et cetera. And secondly, I want to ask what is wrong with just teaching? With all due respect, we are not a university because we have a hospital or a stadium or an HR department. We're a university because we offer instruction to our students, and we're really good at it. So just teaching should, in my view, be a point of pride and not something to tell people to stay in their place. So we're very excited that this vote is coming to you, and we hope that you will live up to this institution's very frequently stated commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. I also want to say that even though it is a coincidence, it is somehow very fitting that this vote is happening in the same months where over 100 of our members became teaching professors. This was a title we first proposed in 2003. It's finally here. And it really does feel like there's a larger cultural shift underway on this campus. And I want to say thank you. And thank you for...
You can finish, Kirsten.
Okay.
Maybe I'll finish some of that. Kirsten, it's good to see you, and I'm thrilled that this change is going to be coming.
Good to see you too.
Our next speaker is Phil Rogers.
Good afternoon. I have the honor and the easy job of following my colleague, Kristen Harold, to also speak in favor of the resolution passed by the University of Senate to expand its membership. I'm a professor in the medical school appointed on the clinical track, and clinical track faculty are among the groups proposed to be added. I had some prepared remarks today, but I will say this is my first Regents meeting. This is a nice room. And I was struck by the themes in the meeting thus far that honor and celebrate our people. Because in the end, I believe that those of us who have been here as long as I have, and those who have been here even a short time, understand that our power is in our people. And those of us who have had the opportunity to lead at all levels in the university understand, I hope, that our job is to help facilitate our people to their own personal and professional growth, to serve our missions, and to achieve their highest and best purpose. By expanding the Senate membership, we expand those voices, and we allow the diversity of our fantastic people in our faculty, our archivists, our curators, our lecturers to be heard and to advise our executive leadership to help us continue to build on our tradition of excellence to serve all of our communities. So I thank you in advance for considering voting to support the resolution that was passed by the Senate. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Meredith Kahn.
Good afternoon. My name is Meredith Kahn. I'm a librarian here at the University of Michigan, and I'm also a proud member of LEO, AFT Michigan 6244. And LEO, in addition to the lecturers, represents librarians, archivists, and curators across all 3 University of Michigan campuses. Librarians, archivists, and curators are the custodians of the most valuable things the university possesses, the cultural heritage that forms a part of our teaching and research mission. But today I'm addressing you as a member of the Faculty Senate's Rules, Practices, and Policies Committee, which developed the proposed rules revisions and advocated for the expansion of participation in faculty governance. To the Regents, I would like to thank you for amending the bylaws today, assuming you're going to actually do that, as this is the final step in a process that will allow for greater participation in faculty governance at the University of Michigan. Shared governance is a foundational principle in the Academy and a vital component of the functioning of our university. Together, the Regents, University Administration, and the faculty work together to achieve our shared mission of excellence in teaching and research. I am excited that now when we talk about these three partners in shared governance, the faculty will include so many more faculty on our campuses, our lecturers, our clinical colleagues, librarians, archivists, and curators. To my faculty colleagues, I encourage all of us to build trust in one another, to speak with a collective voice, and to stand in solidarity with fellow workers on campus as we endeavor to build a more just and equitable university. Thank you.
Thank you very much to all three of our speakers. We're now moving on to the consent agenda portion of the meeting. The minutes and reports of previous meetings are on the website. Please let us know if there are any corrections that you might see. The reports section of the meeting will begin with Chancellor Grasso.
Thank you, President Ono. I am very proud to recommend Dr. Frederic Brunel to lead our College of Business and ask that the Regents approve his appointment later in the meeting. He is currently Associate Dean of Business at Boston University. He is an accomplished teacher and scholar with thousands of citations to his work. He earned his undergraduate degree in France and his PhD in marketing from the University of Washington in Seattle, where he was classmates with Ross Business School Dean Sharon Matusik. So we have a direct line into Ann Arbor now in the business school. I'd also like to acknowledge the success of our undergraduates. Our undergraduate students that apply to medical schools have a acceptance rate of about 45%, which is higher than the national average, which ranges from 36 to 41%. So we're very proud of the students that are prepared for medical school through U of M Dearborn. Professor of Biology and Biochemistry Marilee Benor was recently named as the new editor-in-chief of the Biochemistry and Molecular Biology Education Journal. And finally, our Center for Arab American Studies has been selected as the 2023 Michigan Humanities Awards Community Impact Partner recipient. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chancellor Grasso, and please give our very best to everybody on your beautiful campus. We now turn to Chancellor Dutta for the UM Flint campus report.
Yeah, thank you, President Ono. Like to share with you some campus updates. Most importantly now is the enrollment, the projection in fall. So last year we had, for the first time after several years, an increase, a very healthy increase in new student enrollment. This year, the way it looks now, the trend continues. Actually, it is even better as of now. These numbers can and will change. So we are seeing a 5% increase in domestic undergraduate students, so-called the FIDIACs. We are seeing a 21% increase in transfer students enrollment. We are seeing 22% increase in graduate students, new graduate students. And our K-12 partnerships, which refer to the dual and early college, new student enrollments are 43% over last year. So these numbers are very encouraging, but as I said, these numbers can and will change. However, the experts in enrollment management are pretty sure that this year fall, again, second year in a row, we will have a healthy increase in new student enrollment. Would like to share with you that U of M Flint and Mott Community College have a new partnership. We celebrated that a couple of weeks ago, and this new agreement allows for a student to be jointly admitted to Mott and U of M Flint. So what that helps is it eliminates duplication of coursework, minimizes the credit loss, and makes the process a lot more smooth. So we hope that this partnership, the benefits of this, again, we will see next year, will add to the enrollment growth. Our College of Health Sciences, the Master of Public Health, for the first time, is included in the national ranking of US News and World Report. So that is wonderful. It already has ranked programs in nurse anesthesia and physical therapy. College of Technology, Professor Mihai Burzo was granted a US patent, multimodal sensing of thermal comfort for adaptable climate control. This is a new technology using AI that would consume much less energy than existing solutions, and that would make it very useful in electric cars and trucks, zero net energy buildings, and so forth. Finally, SACWA has selected Thomas Henthorn, the Wyatt Professor of U.S. History at U of M Flint, as the 2023 Regents Award for Distinguished Public Service. They refer to his scholarly work directly within the Flint community as a key factor why he was included. So this being my last Regents meeting, I would like to take a few minutes to thank sincerely all members of the Board of Regents. I remember I started in August of 2019, and the very first meeting on the Flint campus that I met the board was in October. Regent Illich was the chair, and it was a lunch meeting. I had about 45 minutes at that time, and I shared my analysis, which I had done over the last 45 days, to convey to you where the Flint campus was, what the vital signs were looking, and where the Flint campus was. From that day onward, the response that I got from the board, I will say, in my humble opinion, the transformation of Flint campus began. We have been talking about strategic transformation just last year, but honestly, that was the day, that was the board meeting from which, because of your support, your full interest, and you created a new Dearborn and Flint subcommittee. So it showed very clearly how strongly invested you are in Flint. So I deeply appreciate that. I can say that each and every one of you, as busy as you are, and you are really busy people, I know it, you have day jobs. I mean, this is volunteer work that you are doing for the love of the university. You have given Flint very generously of the time. You have given me, every time I have asked to speak with you, I have had the opportunity to do so. This is truly appreciated. And I would also say that I'm a guy who cannot hold jobs, as you can realize. I have interacted with several boards. But the level of intentionality that I have seen in this board on every issue that comes to you is commendable. We have seen the public comments, and Regent Brown spoke about, at times it gets quite stressful, tense. But I want everyone to know that the Regents actually take these comments very seriously. There are conversations about these intensely, and not all of them get to see the light of day for very good reasons, but the Regents actually do this. I will also say that your strong interest in keeping tuition affordable is commendable. I have seen it with my own eyes, how much you agonize over how difficult it might be for different sectors of the community to even pay a $5 over what they're paying. And that is commendable. That truly is commendable. So I would just say that I have benefited from your advice, your counsel, your help, and many times you have disagreed with me and convinced me that this is not the right way to do it or this is not the right time to do it. So hold off. Truly appreciate it. So thank you very much. I will say to you, President Ono, since you came, I have admired your leadership of this great institution. You have been very helpful. You have given me your counsel as well, so thank you very much for that. And finally, to my EO colleagues, it has been wonderful to have you as partners in this journey. Even though we are the northern outpost, we get a chance to come here and benefit from all of these conversations at the EO meeting. So it is much, much appreciated. One last thing I did want to say, and I forgot, that the Regents' support and Secretary Churchill's support, particularly in creating for University of Michigan Flint the very first regentally approved bylaws. After 64 years, think about it, after 64 years, this institution got a regentally approved bylaws. This change, I believe, is irreversible and a very good one for the institution. And my successors here on out will benefit from that one action that I believe will fundamentally make this institution, U of M Flint, much stronger in shared governance and everything it does with faculty, administration, and students together. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All right. We're fortunate to hear from the Vice President of the Central Student Government, Bipasha Ray.
Can you hear me? Perfect. Good evening, President Ono, members of the Board of Regents, and executive officers of the university. Thank you so much for having me here today. My name is Bipasha Ray, and I am honored to address you today as Vice President of Central Student Government. Alongside President Mira Hurley, I have served in this role since April, and it is a privilege to provide you with an update on our recent accomplishments and upcoming plans. Internally, we have focused on building a strong team by recruiting and onboarding an entire cabinet and executive branch. Our policy advisors, commission chairs, programming board, and other colleagues are working diligently on planning projects for the year ahead to ensure that it is filled with programs and events that are catered to the needs of our student body. In addition, we have renewed a contract with the Wall Street Journal to provide individual memberships to all students, faculty, and staff. This agreement has secured us a 3-year renewal of our current subscription at a 1/3 discounted price. CSG is proud to continue offering this service to students, as it has been extremely popular, attracting nearly 16,000 subscribers who have viewed over 2.5 million articles in the past year. Looking ahead, we have 2 exciting events coming up for Welcome Week at the beginning of the fall semester. The first is Pride Outside, a collaborative effort with the Spectrum Center and OSTEM, featuring a vibrant drag show alongside tabling by LGBTQ+ organizations. The second is a Meet Your Representatives event, coupled with a movie night, which aims to foster collaboration among representatives from all unit student governments along with CSG, providing a space for students to share questions, concerns, and ideas with their representatives. Finally, we are working closely with FSL to implement hydration stations across campus to increase student safety and mitigate potential risks, particularly with the start of the semester and game days approaching. We thank you all for your continued support as we roll out our priorities for this term. While our next formal presentation isn't until September, we are always available as a resource to address any questions or concerns that may arise. We encourage you to read the full written report for more information and contact csg.president@umish.edu at any time. We value your engagement and we look forward to collaborating you in advancing the university's mission. Thank you once again for providing me with the opportunity to speak before you today. Go Blue.
Blue.
Lapash, I just want to, we spoke earlier, I just want to wish you the best of luck on the MCAT in a few weeks.
Are you going to say something else?
No, that's
okay. I just wanted to say that we're really looking forward to working with you this year. We had a wonderful interaction with Central Student Government last year, and we're really looking forward to this year. So thanks. If you could pass that on to everyone, I'd appreciate it. Over to Provost Macaulay.
Okay, thank you, President Ono. I would like to talk briefly about graduate education at the university, as well as provide an update on negotiations with the Graduate Employees Organization, or GEO. Our applications for graduate education at all levels are consistently robust, and this admission cycle is no exception. For example, applications to the University of Michigan PhD programs this year were at their highest level ever, with more than 18,800 applications received. Interest in master's education continues to be high as well, with more than 15,500 applications received to Rackham master's programs. We have 110 courses of study ranked in the top 10 nationally and ranked second in annual research volume. Outcomes from graduate education are excellent as well, with very high employment rates that span industry, government, nonprofit, and academic sectors. Increased support for our entire graduate student community in all its varied forms remains a driver of our success in the competitive graduate school landscape. Our graduate student research assistants, or GSRAs, will receive a 5% wage increase this fall. As we know, the law prohibits any employer from giving employees a raise before an agreement is reached with the union, so we look forward to GEO members getting a wage increase once a new contract is in place. The new academic Rackham funding model, which rolled out May 1st, placed U of M doctoral students in their first 4 to 6 years, or our period of full funding, at the very top of the Big Ten and AAU public peers, and fourth among all AAU institutions for the past academic year. The support offered to doctoral students in their period of full funding now includes a stipend increased from 8 to 12 months, healthcare, and tuition. As a result, support for doctoral students has increased substantially from more than $54,000 per student last year to nearly $70,000 for this year, on average for resident pre-candidate doctoral students. For non-resident students, for our non-resident students, $80,000 per student last year, and will increase to $97,000 on average per student this year for pre-candidate graduate students. Those figures increase if the student has family members on their insurance plan. Rackham's reimagined 12-month PhD funding model provided $12 million in additional funding from Rackham and the Provost Office just this summer. Nearly 1,500 PhD students benefited from that extra funding, enabling continuous progress on their dissertations during the summer. Support for continuous progress is a change in Rackham academic policy, reflecting the long expressed belief by graduate chairs that retention and completion rates will improve when all PhD students can receive summer funding, regardless of whether they're employed by the university. In addition, health insurance costs are increasing by 9.2% this year. The university continues to cover this cost for all GSIs and GSSAs. None of the increased cost is being passed on to them. The university continues to offer childcare subsidies for all students, including those outside the labor union who demonstrate financial need. Combined with the many other programs and benefits available to our students, such as Rackham research grants, Rackham travel grants, and emergency funding, we remain very competitive in the graduate school landscape. Regarding negotiations with the Graduate Employees Organization, the university and GEO's bargaining teams met for 2 bargaining sessions last week, for a total of 4 sessions since my last update to the board in May, and 41 sessions in total. GEO's salary proposal has not decreased since the beginning of negotiations last November and remains at a 60% increase in year 1 of the contract, followed by inflationary increases in years 2 and 3. I spoke earlier of our 12-month academic support. Even our 8-month employment salary for GSIs and GSSAs led the Big Ten in the last academic year and is competitive with peer institutions. The university's team has offered to meet as often as possible before the start of the academic year. The union has not yet provided any additional days for the remainder of summer. While the parties have reached some agreements on minor issues, little progress has been made on the substantive issues. That's where negotiations stand as we approach the 2 public fact-finding hearing dates, which will take place tomorrow, July 21st, and July 28th. The fact-finding process, which the university initiated on May 17th by petitioning the State Labor Board, involves a neutral, state-appointed fact finder reviewing the disputed issues between the 2 parties. At the end of the process, the fact finder will provide recommendations for settling the contract. While the recommendations are non-binding, fact finding often helps parties resolve differences. We expect recommendations of the fact finder by mid-September. In summary, we are driven to provide an outstanding education to all of our students. We're dedicated to deploying an excellent fall term where every student has the opportunity to contribute to the rich fabric of our campus community. Thank you, President Ono.
Thank you, Provost McCauley. Thank you, Provost McCauley. My microphone wasn't on. Apologize for that. For personnel reports, over to EVP Chattis.
Thank you, Mr. President. Adding to what President Ono said about the appointment of Shauna Weber, Shauna is a national leader in campus sustainability with expertise at addressing both educational aspects and operational aspects of campus sustainability. Her leadership will advance the U of M's comprehensive approach, helping us to reach our own sustainability goals in ways that will inform solutions for society at large. I share the enthusiasm with the President, and I recommend Shauna Weber as the university's first Associate Vice President for Campus Sustainability. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And EVP Chattis, I just had a visit earlier this week from some of the original individuals who brought together what would become the PCCN report. And they're thrilled with the progress that has been made. And I can just say that we're all very motivated to continue to meet each of those recommendations. And this is one of them. So congratulations to you and the team that identified such an outstanding national leader for the University of Michigan. We now, I just want to note that the retirement memoirs are in the materials. And I now call for a vote on the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Same sign. Consent agenda passes unanimously. We now move on to the regular agenda, and first the finance and properties section. In terms of alternate asset commitment, is there a motion first to approve?
So moved.
Second? Any comments, EVP Chattis? I'm sorry.
Nothing further.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. We now move on to the University of Michigan Health C.S. Mott Children's and Women's Hospital's new birth center patient rooms. E.V. Chattis, any comment?
Again, nothing to add, Mr. President.
Thank you. Is there any motion to approve? You, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Before we continue, I think EVP Chattis would like to make a special comment.
Hank, are you still here? I know you've heard from so many people early on, but I wanted to add my personal profound thanks. And if you look out at the audience today and you see how many of your colleagues from business and finance have joined today to thank you for everything you've done. And what you heard today was from the Regents and from the President about the buildings, but your impact is so much deeper. And I don't know if everybody knows that in your tenure of 31 years, 25 at the helm of facilities and operations, not only did you win 3 National Architecture Awards for these buildings, so congratulations for that, but I think you also pride yourself on your team and the legacy you will leave behind. And I think you put Ted Lasso to shame, I have to say. So, you know, when I first met you, you talk about culture and the importance of every individual on that team. And I see it every day as I go out and meet with the team that you will leave behind, Hank. The day that resonates mostly with was graduation, which you know, where your team got up at 4 a.m. to put water on the tulips to make sure our families would see those tulips at graduation. But that's the dedication of a team that cherished working with you and will sustain your legacy. I also want to share with you, after discussion with the leadership and the board today, that you may remember in the new dorm, which you helped us begin on South 5th, which will be approved in September, we are going to be installing likenesses of certain important people in the university's history in the form of gargoyles on the building. And that we unanimously agreed today that you would be the first gargoyle to be put on the building and honor, and we'll have a plaque describing that honor. So Hank, thank you profoundly from all of us on the business and finance team and others with your service. Have a great retirement.
Thank you, EVP Chattis. All right, items 3 to 10 are conflict of interest items, each of which requires at least 6 votes for approval. Does anyone have any questions about a particular item? Any regions? Seeing none, would any regions like to request recusal from voting on any item? Seeing none, I now call for a vote on items 3 to 10. Is there a motion to approve?
Moved.
Seconded?
Second.
Okay, just a show of hands. Those in favor, please raise your hand. We have at least 6. I can confirm that. We do, and the motion passes. We move on to the authorization for the university to enter into an agreement with the Ann Arbor Symphony Orchestra. EVP Chattis. Any comments?
Nothing further to add.
3 to 10, that was already approved. Thank you. I was just too excited by the word symphony.
I thought you might be.
We'll do it twice.
I think the president wants to talk about the symphony orchestra now.
I support you.
We have 3 academic calendars that we can vote on as a block, if that's okay with the provost. Are there any comments? Okay, Provost McCollum? Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Seconder? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item number 5, the Regents bylaws, section 4.0 of the University Senate, VP Churchill.
Yes, we did post the bylaws for comments. The comments we did receive were in support, along the lines of the support you heard today from the speakers. Nobody that I know is opposed to these proposed bylaw changes, so they are submitted as you see in the book.
But just formally, just to make sure for the record, is there a motion to approve? Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Same sign. The Regents bylaws pass on the Senate, pass unanimously. I see some smiles over there. We'll have to celebrate. Okay. Over to you, VP Churchill, on any public comments.
Yes, we do have some other speakers, but I just want to remind anyone who just arrived to the meeting that the board does not generally respond to comments made during the public comment session. And in keeping with the reasonable and appropriate norms of decorum, all attendees, including speakers, are expected to treat others with respect and civility. Individuals who are approved to speak will be expected to speak to the topic that was submitted during the registration, truthfully disclose any relevant organizational ties during the registration, and promptly cease speaking after the 2 minutes, up to 2 minutes has expired. Speakers who do not adhere to these rules may be precluded from addressing the board at future meetings for some specified period of time. Other guidelines also apply that are on the website. I will now turn to our next speaker. We do have a number, Michael Heinrich.
Michael Beam, thank you for being the first Regent to say the right thing to do is for the university to fulfill all the care I require for the rest of my life. And thank you to the whole board for unanimously agreeing that the right thing to do is to cover my care. I am grateful to you for providing a portion of the costs required for my care. However, I am disappointed in the process that took place with your financial team. The only thing I ever requested was for your world-renowned spinal cord physicians to evaluate the care I require and the costs associated with it. Instead, your financial team elected to use a financial estimate from a 2-page facts and figures sheet from a study out of Alabama to determine my care. I need to share with you the conclusion from that study, because sometimes details aren't shared with you, as stated in the study, quote, however, the overall estimates of charges and costs from this study cannot substitute for a professionally developed life care plan based on the actual needs of the individual and the cost of providing those needed services in the community where that individual resides. All I ever asked was for my parents to be my parents again and not my caregivers. But even with your financial assistance, my parents will still have to be my caregivers. I request at some point you as a board involve physicians and myself in a process that reevaluates the care I need. This has been my only request and continues to be. I want to reiterate, I'm grateful to Regent Beam and all the regents and Dr. Ono for providing me a portion of the care I require. At the end of the day, your rotted tree broke my neck. I am paralyzed. I will never walk again. I will never run. I will never have the freedom to live my life how I want. But I am Michael Heinrich. I am quadriplegic. I am here, and I will always fight for what's right in the world. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Adam Paulson.
Hello, and thank you for letting me speak to you today. My name is Adam Paulson, and I'm a member of MNAU and PNC, and I work in the pediatric ICU at CS Mott Children's Hospital. I'm here today because a few weeks ago, a man accidentally brought a loaded gun into our pediatric ICU while visiting a patient. I will say our security and AAPD responded appropriately, but I was asked to see if there was a gun tucked into his waistband or not. I was the one asked to give the patient their medications because the nurse was too terrified to go into the room. And now I have been asked to come here to tell you the story and to beg for more security measures. While I hear that we are getting the ability to lock our unit and panic buttons, and I sincerely thank you for that, I hope those security features do not become part of the budget cuts we are being forced to take as we purchase more hospitals. We, the nurses and the security staff, are begging for metal detectors in our emergency departments, zero tolerance of threatening behavior, and larger signage of patient and visitor expectations at every entrance, and yes, larger signage about weapons on hospital grounds. I have personally been threatened. My nursing director has had her life threatened. Our medical director has had her life threatened. And there's nothing quite like caring for a child to have a parent say that they're going to hunt you down in the parking lot after work, knowing that there are no security cameras there and that there is very little I can do to protect myself against that threat. Every year I receive ALICE training, alert, lockdown, inform, counter, evacuate. I'm expected to take care of a child on maximum life support while also being cognizant of my exits, safe rooms, and tools I can use to fight back with. It's not a question of will an active shooter happen here, but when. And when the victims' families look for answers, they will look to meetings like this one and the decisions made by leaders like you. Because if a man accidentally brings a loaded gun past not less than 2 security checkpoints, what's to stop a man with intent to do harm? Think really hard about telling a victim's family that we did all we could to prevent this from happening, when we all know there is more that can be done. And we keep getting told that it's not in the budget. When we see billion-dollar expenditures, new scoreboards, and we see metal detectors at football games and Regents meetings, we see that it is in the budget. It's just not a priority to keep staff and patients safe.
Regent Illich?
Adam, I wanted to ask you a couple of questions. First of all, I'm sorry that happened to you. That had to be incredibly frightening. I heard you say a couple suggestions about what you'd like to see. I heard you say bigger signs about weapons, but I would be very interested in you either saying now or emailing to me very specifically what kinds, you said cameras.
Our librarians have actually put together 20 research studies that I just didn't have time to present today about all the things that other universities and hospitals have done to mitigate risks and make nurses and patients feel safer in hospitals.
Okay, because we very much want you to be safe, and we will find the money in the budget and talk to everybody about it. So if you could send, I would think the board would want the information as well, but send to all of the regions the information and any feedback. You know, you're on the ground there, so you know better than anybody. So tell us what other things you'd like to see that would help you feel safe, be safe, and do your job in the best way that you can.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for bringing it to our attention.
Thank you so much.
Our next speaker is Lena Azim.
President Ono, members of the Board of Regents, and executive officers of the university, I am pleased to formally introduce myself to you as the 67th president of our esteemed student government at the University of Michigan-Flint. My name is Lena Azim, and I am a rising junior majoring in political science with a pre-law concentration with hopes of one day working in child advocacy and juvenile courts. This year is my third year of service at this institution, having previously held multiple roles in student government, including the positions of senator, vice chair, chief of staff, and most recently, vice president in the winter 2023 semester. Working alongside me in this journey is my vice president, Logan Lapine, a social studies TCP major who previously served as both a senator and last year as our director of foreign outreach. Normally, I would be giving my report. However, I'm here today given recent news regarding my campus's leadership to express great interest in meeting with you to discuss the future of UM-Flint prior to the start of the coming school year. We appreciate your intentions to remain firmly committed to a brighter future for Flint and await transparent and collaboration between us. As the University of Michigan-Flint will begin its transition into a new dawn of leadership, we are excited about the direction and endless possibilities it will hold for all 3 of our campuses. My administration hopes to form excellent relationships with President Ono and the Board of Regents to ensure that we are able to best serve our students and be an asset to them in this process. We believe that it is at times like this that solidarity amongst us is of the utmost importance, and Flint will also depend on you to help guide us through this process smoothly, and I ask that President Ono and the board rely on us as well to help show the leadership that my school and home needs and deserves, a selection rooted in the voices of Flint and its students, faculty, and staff who deeply care about its success. It is an honor to work with each and every one of you, and it would be an understatement to say that Logan and I are looking forward to working in the best interests of students in this coming school year and the process of selecting a new chancellor. Last but not least, we of course thank Chancellor Dutta for his commitment to the well-being of UM-Flint, from leading us through challenges faced during the pandemic to his stake in the transformation project and his adherence to maintaining collaboration and accessibility between SG and administration. He has shown perseverance in his work at the university. We wish him the best in his future endeavors. From U of M to U of M, go blue.
Yeah. Can I just, there's a couple of things, a couple of us want to talk to you. First of all, I will be at Flint all morning tomorrow on the campus.
Wonderful, okay.
Yeah, so if I can't meet you tomorrow, we certainly would make it a priority for me to meet with you and other student leaders as well. In terms of the search process, certainly we will involve members of the Flint community in that process, and certainly speak with you about the characteristics you'd like to see in the next chancellor. So I want to thank you for traveling all the way here to connect with us. I've been incredibly impressed with the student leadership across all 3 campuses. But on my visit to Flint, I was very impressed, and I want to thank you for connecting with us and making the effort and time to come see us.
Absolutely. The weather was a bit rough, I'm not gonna lie, but
Yeah.
I'm glad that I made it, and I appreciate
Yeah.
your guys' time and effort as well. Thank you.
Regent Illich.
Arlena, I just wanted to congratulate you, and I can see that Flint is in very good hands.
Thank you.
Hey, Lena, one thing, I spend almost every day in Flint too. So if we could meet for lunch, I'd love to get your ideas, for moving forward.
Absolutely.
My email's, pretty public.
I'm guessing I can find it.
You can send me an email and I'll respond back to you.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and please convey our desire to communicate with other members of student government.
Absolutely. You guys have a wonderful rest of your day.
Go Blue.
Our next speaker is Louisa Cotero. Louisa. Okay. Is Evelyn Smith here? Is Paul Sandy here? Is Kaylin Watson here? That concludes our public comment.
The meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for coming here today.